Have you ever felt the butterflies in your stomach every time you want to speak English with people? Or you become so much hesitant just because you don't know what to say when you wanted to speak English with your friend and people around you in English? Because, nervousness just came out of nowhere, and then you lose your confidence. If that is what happened to you, if that is what you experience, you're not alone. Because in today's episode, we're going to decipher some of the essential strategies to overcome and how to handle nervousness, and also to boost your confidence. And to discuss about it, I am already joined here by the one and only Fatma. How is it going, Fatma?
Life is perfect. I hope life is also perfect over there.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing week. Recently, I've seen your stories. How was your vacation in Bali?
Yeah, it was a great day, of course.
All right. And before we jump on to our the main thing of our today's episode,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to ask you, Fatma, um, is nervousness normal actually in speaking?
It is. It is actually normal. Talking about butterfly in our stomach. Well, I think until now, I still feel the butterflies inside my stomach, especially when I'm supposed to speak in front of the public, or even sometimes when we have a conversation like this. Yeah, I still feel nervous, but because I think the show must go on, the nervousness sometimes only lasts only a few seconds, not take. It doesn't take us so long. So instead of stop, so I decide to continue to fight my nervousness. But yeah, the one that I do to minimize the nervousness is that the first one is, of course, I need to keep going, and sometimes I move my body to minimize my feeling that I feel nervous. And talking about boosting confidence, we will never get tired to remind you guys that practice will boost your confidence. Practice is the key to achieve the success. In this case, practice will help you to boost, to improve your speaking skill and build up your confidence. Am I right, Jess?
Exactly. It reminded me of one experience when I wanted to begin my public speaking presentation. So, a minute before, probably I was ready, I prepared a lot, but the day when I wanted to present my presentation, then I felt so much nervous. And in this case, nervousness is normal. And that is why
Okay.
in this episode, as Fatma already said before, practicing is the key and essential factor how to boost your
Yeah.
confidence. But Fatma,
Yeah.
reg- what is it? Regardless of practicing, actually, what's more important is that how um, to practice consistently and regularly, right?
Yeah, to practice regularly, actually, we need to start from ourselves, because if we rely to somebody else, we cannot control them, right? So the very first thing that if we want to practice English, of course, we need to commit to ourselves. If we cannot find a partner, language partner, to practice our English, of course, we can rely. The only one that we can rely is ourselves. Therefore, maybe we can practice speaking to ourselves in front of the mirror, just like what I do. Or yeah, maybe you can record yourself when you are speaking to know how far you have, what's that, you have walked, you have learned English, right? So yeah, it is a good to find partner to practice your English. But maybe it's what's that, they don't, they are not available for 24 hours, right? So yeah, the most important when you want to practice is that practice with yourself first. Start with yourself first, just like before you love somebody else, love yourself first. Okay, so before you practice your English with somebody else, practice your English with yourself by speaking in front of the mirror, by recording yourself when you are speaking. And the next one is, of course, you need to find language partner to practice your English. If you are language partner or students in university, try to find out. And I believe that students association, most of them provide community for a learner to practice or to improve their speaking ability. Or if you cannot find any, you can practice it with your teacher, right? I believe that they can, what's that, they can be a good collaborator for you because they know that you need to practice your English. So at least you can practice with your teacher, or you can also find out native speakers that can facilitate you to practice your English. Um, to this case, when we are talking about native speakers, not all regions have got native speaker, Jess. Yeah, to be honest, maybe in Malang you can find a lot of native speaker of English. So the one who live in Malang can practice English with native speaker easily. But for those whose region is not visited by international tourists, maybe it's quite hard for them to find out native speakers. To deal with this, what they can do, Jess? Or is there any online platform where native speakers facilitate language learner to practice their English?
Yeah, I think actually, with the advancement of technology, we can be connected to people around the world, or even you may take some extra course to really, what is it, to really employ maybe native speakers out there to be your tutor, to be your teacher online. I think that is available
Yeah.
everywhere. But Fatma, before we move on to the next tips, there is an idea that, what is it? Regular practice for 20 minutes is way better than 5 hours of one-time practice, right?
Okay, okay. 20 minutes, but you do it regularly. Mhm.
Yeah, we do it regularly.
Consistently.
But
Okay.
this is speaking from experience. We might we might have like strong motivation to practice regularly, but there's a time that we feel like we would give up
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
what is it, just because what I learn is not progressing anymore, and then we feel kind of stuck with that. How do you deal with that?
When we want to give up, yeah, sometimes, yeah, I know how it feels. Even though when I record myself, sometimes I feel embraced with my own record, right? But when I try to check another record of myself, sometimes I can feel what's that? I'm proud of myself. Oh yeah, I made it. Or when I'm speaking with people, I know what you feel, guys. Maybe when you are trying your best to practice your English with a certain community or with people that you think that they are more advanced, you feel unconfident because you are afraid that they are going to laugh at you, they are going to underestimate you when you make mistake. But believe me, if you got what's that, the right person, the right community, they will not laugh at you when you are making a lot of mistake. They will not underestimate you when you mispronounce the word, because they know that you are language learner who is still in progress, learning, achieving your success. So if they still laugh at you, they still underestimate you, trust me, the mistake doesn't lie on you, but you know. Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's it what I'm thinking about. So I believe that when I make mistake, people will understand that I am language learner. So yeah, why not? Instead of waiting for the perfection, yeah, it is okay to embrace my mistake and continue learning. What about you? Do you have any trick to deal with this?
Yeah, I think making mistake is normal as make feeling nervous when we wanted to speak to begin speaking. Yeah. And also, Fatma, apart from practicing regularly, this is one tiny thing that really contribute to
What
the
is that?
success of anything. including learning a language, is that uh, like micro habits, like
Micro
start from
habit,
the small things, right?
small thing.
So micro habits, or we start from the small thing, it really is useful to boost our confidence in English. Think about a house, for example. So when you think about building a house, it's impossible to just build in one night, right? We need time. It takes time from one little brick, and then we lay one brick. Today we lay two bricks. Tomorrow we lay three bricks, and then until finally, or eventually, it becomes a house. The same thing in learning a language, right? We need to begin with a simple conversation, probably
Yeah.
from the simple one to the complex one.
Yep.
That is the, what is it, the small things that we can start doing, that we can start talking in interacting with people. Or even I
Right.
used to visualize a baby steps. Like when you're a baby, you're
Okay.
not running right away. You begin with a single steps. So
Right.
start small, because there is a wise word says that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right? So
Yeah.
instead of,
Maybe your micro habit will be different with the micro habit that we have as the audience here, Jess. Uh, let's go back when you were students. What micro habit did you do when you were student?
when I was a student, I think I said this before in our earlier podcast. I
Mm-hmm.
tried to provide myself with a cue, or what is it called?
Okay.
Cue or hint, or something that triggers me to do something. For example,
Right.
instead of what is it, memorizing a lot number of vocabulary, why not trying to stick one important vocabulary in the
Mm-hmm.
place that you can display, that
Okay.
you can see right away. So by seeing that, you will
Mm-hmm.
automatically read the vocabulary, and then it will stuck with you forever. I think this is a small habit,
Okay.
a
Did
micro
you
habits
did
that,
you use that vocabulary right away? Did you? I mean, in practicing speaking, when you were a student, did you use directly the word that you or the vocabulary that you have memorized in real speaking?
not always, it depends on the context, right?
Okay.
It depends on the necessity in our,
Mm-hmm.
in our daily life. When
Mm-hmm.
I need that vocabulary, yeah, sometimes it just come up with me. Sometimes it's difficult to come up, to bring that up, to bring that
Okay.
vocabulary up. And that is and this can be really frustrating. But going back again to start small, or by doing micro habits,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's really essential, because you don't need to think big. You don't
Okay.
need to think about, I'm going to be a fluent English speaker, I'm
Yes.
going to be a great and confident English speaker. That's too far to achieve, right?
Yep. Yep.
All of us have a goal, right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
we fail to build the system. And
Yep.
building a system in this case, in learning English, by doing, by adding one habit to another. So adding
Yes.
one, adding two, adding
Agree.
adding three, and finally, unconsciously and undeliberately, we learn, because we
Mm-hmm.
make it part of our life.
Yep.
Do you
Yep.
have any idea?
Correct. Me, well, micro habit that I used to do is that, for example, when I'm doing something, especially when I'm alone. Of course, I'm not going to do it when I'm with my friends. When I'm alone and I'm doing something, sometimes I'm mumbling myself by uttering what I'm doing. For example, when I'm sweeping, all right, I'm sweeping the floor now. So just mumbling the sentence in English, but what's that? I utter it clearly, not only inside my heart, but I pronounce it. So when I'm reading, so I'm going to say to myself that, all right, now I'm reading. When I'm, to be honest, when I'm learning about past tense, so at night before I slept, at that time, I try to recall what did I do a day. Okay, for example, this morning I studied with my friend in blah blah blah. This morning I went to blah blah blah. So that's micro habit that I used to do, but now I don't think so that I have that micro habit. Yeah, because for me, maybe memorizing would will work well for you. But for me, when I just memorize it and I don't use the vocabulary in speaking, maybe I know the word, but I do not know how to pronounce the word. Therefore, when I learn the vocabulary, I try my best to use it in what's it, at least mumbling by myself.
What do you have the tips for the next?
Join. I already mentioned previously. Join language group.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. Do you have a community now? Do you have certain community that was that facilitates you in learning speaking?
Not really. I am subscribing to number of podcasts and following number
Okay.
of accounts in Spotify.
Okay.
So I'm a kind of passive member. I'm not
All
directly
right.
involved in a speaking practice.
I remember that you participated in one of what's that? Clubhouse. Yep.
Yeah, but it was kind of passive, a passive
Oh.
listener. Passive listener. So I participate in a clubhouse, not as a speaker, but for the most part as a passive listener. As a passive listener, I think joining a club is
Okay.
joining a language group is really awesome, and I'm really happy that I have you here with the podcast.
Me too. I'm extremely happy because I have language partner to practice my English. Sometimes there has been many times for me requesting my friend, oh, let's practice our English because you know our English will be fossilized if we never practice it. Yeah, yeah. Maybe we just practice one sentence, two sentence, and then continue by using our native language. And this is a good opportunity for me to practice my English even though I'm still learning, and of course was that I still make a lot of mistakes. But yeah, instead of what's that uh, consider this as a hindrance, I see this obstacle, I see this mistake as a challenge for me to continue learning.
But for those of you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
who
tell
cannot
more.
afford joining a language group, just don't forget to subscribe and update to this English in channel
Yes.
because every week
Yep.
we update new videos
Mhm.
accompany you, and you may
Mhm.
listen to this from the beginning to the end of our podcast.
Yes, and maybe everybody here now, I think they have their own what's that platform? They have Instagram, they have Facebook, they have YouTube, right? I think after you participating in or participate in what's that? You are passive member of language group or online language group like clubhouse and so on and so on. After you are learning the material from that group, you can practice it by making video, for example, and post it into your social media so everybody can what's that can learn from the video. Don't think about the perfection, right? It is okay even though your video is not 100% acceptable, right? Just let's wait. Maybe what's that? Because we also can learn the from the feedback that people give to us. Maybe by publishing your speaking and then somebody watch it and you make a mistake and then this person would provide you feedback and you can take the feedback what's that as material for English learning. Why not? I guess.
But feedback isn't always coming from other people outside you. It may be coming
Uh-huh.
from yourself. By what? As Fatma
Oh,
said before,
yes.
by yeah, by recording yourself. For example, you may have
Mhm.
like a personal feedback because by recording yourself when speaking, it helps you identify which area to improve. Right?
Yep, yep,
Because
yep.
sometimes when we try to record ourselves, Fatma, we often make mistakes, and
Indeed.
we often undeliberately, unconsciously, we made mistakes in this area every time. By recording, we can have like personal feedback. Okay, I'm not that good in this area, so I need to
Yes.
fix it. I need to improve it. For example, in the silent T, when you talk, when you speak by yourself, recording yourself, between the government, is it the government? For example, the government or the government? we often mispronounce that word probably. So we have our own area in which area we mostly make mistakes. So by recording, you can listen to yourself how awkward sometimes our sound is, right?
Yes, I find myself awkward.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Because our own voice might sound weird, right? And that actually how we sound to other people. So we have to make sure that it's ethically sound what we speak, right? So that people can easily understand. Sometimes we only understand with our speaking partners, but when talking to somebody, because we made these mistakes becomes what is it fossilized. We never really see feedback, and then we often make mistakes every time we talk to native English speakers. They do not understand, right? But when we speak English with our colleagues, with people from the same region, the same country, probably because we have the same background, that our speaking is more intelligible than speaking to native English speakers right away. So by recording yourself is actually it's seeing your own speaking to people, how you sound to people. All right. Do you have the next tips to share with us?
The next one is, yeah, just like what you always suggest to us, learn phrases. Yeah, because yeah, phrase make our conversation, make our speaking more spicy instead of using ordinary vocabulary. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, most definitely. Because by learning phrases, you learn how the way how natural English, the way how real English is spoken. It's not always the textbook way, but it's the common way of expressing things in English. Usually, native speakers of English they use phrases. And for those of you guys, I think we have already discussed this
Several
topic,
phrases.
yeah, several phrases that you can watch, or even we'll provide the link in the description of this video of our previous podcasts related to specifically talking about phrasal verbs in English.
So go hit the link.
All right.
All right. So what tips do you have? What
Okay,
another tips
this
do you have?
is one of the most common, what is it? This is one of the essential, I think, in communication, because successful communication can be established in two-way communication, in which we focus on the communication or we focus on the connection rather than or over perfection. In relation to confidence, we might feel less confident when speaking about things because we think too much what the next words to say, like, right? So when we listen to somebody's talk, there is no genuine listening in that. We we might we we might hear, but we don't listen to our partner's talk, and then we focus to ourselves, and then we think about what the next idea to talk. So um, it may raise the nervousness because you worry too much about making mistakes, and then you think about, okay, am I grammatically correct or not? So instead of worrying that, why not to focus on the connection over perfection?
Okay. Okay. Yes. I've read a book. The book says, better than perfect. Okay. Instead of waiting something to be perfect and it's going to take very long time and maybe it will be impossible, just start now. It is okay being imperfect. So making mistake, it is okay. Instead of waiting the perfection, focus on the communication. Talking about communication, yes. Instead, what's that? Talking or speaking in English. Sometimes when we are speaking by using our native language, sometimes we need time to recall what we are going to say, right? Even though we are fluent grammatically, we are, what's that? We know how to pronounce the word. When we are speaking in our native language, sometimes we also have a gap before we are speaking, because we are trying to recall what we are going to say. In speaking English, you guys can search communication strategies. right? So it tells you how to deal with what's that? To deal with the situation where you want to recall what you want to say. For example, you use a gap filler like, what's that? I mean, or you can ask your audience, what do you call this, and so on. Or if you cannot find the correct term to express your thought, maybe you can describe it. For example, I do not know how to say this one, right? What is the technical, oh, not the technical term, what is the right what's that word to say this one. For example, this is used usually to make your voice louder. What do you call it? You can use that description so your audience can help you to find out the correct word. That's what's so called by communication strategies, and you can search. There are a lot of communication strategies that you can use in speaking English.
Yeah. For me, it's called like survival phrases.
Oh, survival phrases. Yeah, yeah. Do you think that this is acceptable for you to find somebody, or to, yeah, when somebody is speaking and they still use that one? Like, what's that? I mean, is it disturbing?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think so.
yeah.
I
So
think
it's normal, I
it's
guess.
acceptable. We often, even
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
podcast, we often say like the word, what is that, and everything. Can you rephrase
Yes,
that question
yes.
instead of maybe when you talk to somebody and then you do not understand what he says, instead of using the word, I'm sorry, I don't know what you say. Please repeat. You may use another like survival expressions in English, like can you
Yes,
rephrase the question? So it's just
yes.
stating that, okay, what did you say? I beg your pardon, something like that. So a lot of expressions
Brilliant.
that you can use for survival in this case. So connect to people. um you don't expect perfectness because nothing is perfect, right?
Yes. Yep. Nobody is perfect.
Okay, all right, guys. Can you? I think that those are the strategies that and tips that we can share for today's episode about how to deal with confidence and how to deal with nervousness. And before we end this session, Fatma, do you have something as a wrap up today's episode?
So, as we wrap up, we hope that you enjoy our episode today. And if you have any additional thoughts dealing with how to, what's that? How to deal with our nervousness, how to boost our confidence in speaking English, please share with us by, what's that? Writing down your thought in our comment below. And so everybody can read it and can get advantage from your opinion.
Even we may discuss your burning question in our next episode.
All right, that's going to be our next topic, maybe.
Exactly. Thank you guys for joining us today. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, keep speaking English with confidence.
Yep.
One, two, three. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
Bye bye.
Bye.